out of your own mouth words in situations out of frustration that defile where you are at the present time. Why? Because what frustration wants to do is to get you to act out of character. Yes. How many times have we blast something out of our mouth and wished we could take it back after we said it? No, because you said it out of frustration, you said it out of anger, and you didn't think about it. You reacted to the situation, and you didn't consider through the process of careful thought what your response should be. So instead of you giving a response, you gave a reaction. And the reaction was out of frustration, and it was out of fear. But when it's a response, it's a result of thinking through what my response should be in this situation. And then we give a different response. We give a different answer. Why? What frustration wants to do is to get you to believe God can't do what he says he can do. And you are acted out in frustration. You got to tell someone off. You've got to give someone a piece of your mind because you have bought into the frustration and what it manifests. And you have become a willing participant to speak out of frustration. That's like putting weeds in your own garden. Whatever you're planting in your garden, it's going to grow. And if you don't put the right thing in and work the field, weeds will come in and choke out the life in the garden. So there will not be the right harvest. You want the right harvest. Frustration and fear and doubt never produce the right harvest. It's by dismissing those things from your life and dealing with them that allows you to experience the right harvest. Now understand this. It does not mean that frustration won't show up. It does not mean that fear and doubt won't try to show up. It's what you do from within you that determines how effective frustration and doubts and fears are going to be in your life. They'll come, but you've got to be prepared to deal with them when they come. Deal with them and not flow with them. There's a difference. When you're dealing with them, you are denouncing them. You're not accepting them. You're not going with that thing that you know came to aggravate you. No, I'm not accepting that today. Yes, my children have some issues, but I'm not going to speak more about their issues than I'm speaking about the promise of God that I'm praying about and believing over their lives. You can't become the instrument that speaks doubt into the very situation that you said you're believing God to bring forth the answer for. You've got to speak according to what you believe about what God has promised. That's why he tells us to come into prayer and supplication with thanksgiving so we can get God's perspective in the situation. You've got your perspective. How's that working for you? What you need is God's perspective in the situation. And when you go to him in prayer, you go in faith, you go with the joy because the joy of the Lord is my strength. You go with the peace of God because I'm at rest, because I believe no matter how challenging or difficult it is, my promise from God, my position in God is going to cause me to be the overcomer that God has told me I am. For he says in his word, in all these things, doesn't matter what it is, loneliness, depression, stress, in all these things, we are more than conquerors. You're not just a conqueror, you're more than a conqueror. So what is more than a conqueror? I'm more than in Christ, what God says I am. than in the world with what's trying to affect me, what's trying to discourage me, what's trying to cause fear and doubt in my life. And every child of God goes through this process. There is no exceptions. You cannot be saved so much in this world that you no longer have challenges, that you no longer have issues, that you no longer are under the attack by the enemy. But your consolation is, greater is he that's in me. And this is where I get my joy. This is where I get my peace. This is what is causing me to stand in faith, knowing that he that is for me, God, is greater than the one who is against me. So I choose not to be frustrated, not that it does not come, not that it does not present itself, not that sometimes the people closest to me are the ones that will frustrate you the most. Not that your husband doesn't frustrate you sometime, not that your wife doesn't frustrate you sometime, but because of who we are in Christ, we learn, as the Bible said, learning to rightly divide the word of truth. I know how to rightly divide in Christ that situation that's trying to frustrate me because God shows me just what to do. And remember, in frustration, your inability to change things, well, you're not God, so there are things you can't change. But in Christ, you can find the answer that allows you to have peace about the situation because you're following God's direction, and the only way God can lead you is he can only lead you in peace. Why? Because peace says, I'm trusting. Peace says, okay, Lord, your will, not my will. And this is how we gain victory over frustration. Philippians 4:7, and the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, shall guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Look at the position, look at the place where I'm guaranteed to get the results that God has assigned to my life. I'm guaranteed to get the results that deal with my frustrations when I put and place my confidence and my trust in God. No exception. No exception. Yes, you can walk in victory every day. Yes, you can. You can choose not to, but you can. And because you are making the choice not to, don't think that that's an inability or a shortcoming in God. Because there is no shortcoming, there is no inability, there is nothing that is impossible for God. But we can choose to walk contrary. Some people love being frustrated because it gives them something to talk about. They don't have nothing to talk about until they're frustrated. And when they're frustrated, you can't keep them quiet. But what about the joy of the Lord? What about words of faith, words of comfort? Think on these things, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are just. God tells us to think on those things. And if you're thinking on those things, you truly can't be frustrated. No, you can't be frustrated. You can't be living in doubt and fear. Our inability at times to not do it the way God has ordained is what causes 99.99% of the frustration in our lives. Just not doing it God's way, wanting to do it our own way. Remember, frustration, the inability to change or achieve something. You're frustrated because you can't fix it. You're frustrated because you can't straighten them out. You're frustrated because you say they're not listening to you. Well, have you ever thought the reason they're not listening to you is because you're wrong? You want someone to listen to you when you're wrong? And you're frustrated because they won't take bad advice? You're frustrated because you have shown them you don't know what you're talking about, and you're frustrated because they won't follow that? I don't blame them. Don't get frustrated with people because they don't follow wrong. You should be encouraged to know that there is a place in God where you can have that peace and serenity and that tranquility that causes you to know it is well with my soul. And I'm not moving from that place for anyone. Don't be so easily to give up your peace. Oh my God, sometimes all you can lay on, all you can rest in is the peace of God in your life. And don't give it away to anyone for no reason. And you will not be frustrated if you stop giving up your peace so easy. We thank God for you joining us today. Kingdom Dominion Broadcast. Remember, we're not the famous, we are the faithful. And we thank you for joining us today. Be blessed. Keep God first. And all things are working together for good. Love you. God bless you.
You've done so much for me. Hallelujah. You've given me everything I need. Are you grateful today? And with chaos around, I'll still choose.
Thank you for joining us on Kingdom Dominion Broadcast with Minister Daniel Levan. Give us your prayer requests at kingdomdisciples.net. We respond to every request. To support our ministry, donate on our website by clicking Giving or Cash App us at $PureHeart77. That is $PureHeart 77. Thank you for supporting Kingdom Dominion.